Alright guys, so we're out here in the shop. We're starting ready to put this thing together and work on it. Notice the switch panel's not here, and now it's right here. So I'm a little worried about fitting the battery right here and then the switch panel hitting it. Plus I think it'll start to be too much. I could put the radio on the other side, but I kind of do want to keep at least the radio on the front, but the other speakers, the switches right here. So if this bumps into anything, hopefully it'll bump into this before it hits the switches. So I got everything taped up a little bit more with masking tape just right below the lid. So what I like to do is go ahead and take the lid off. This is a little rusty because I got it from a pawn shop. Now, these are your templates, and you want to protect your templates. So I ran out of masking tape, but I have this like orange vinyl tape that I'm gonna just use. And all I'm gonna do is cover this. If you get closer, you can still see where I need to cut along the inner diameter. So I'm gonna just go ahead and cover the whole thing real quick, and then show you what to do next. All right, so now that I got it all taped up, I think the one thing I want to mention is if you're not painting this thing, don't use duct tape. Duct tape will leave residue. Don't use that. Use masking tape. This is vinyl tape, so it's not gonna ruin the paint or anything. But you notice right here, I didn't tape it. I'm planning on painting this thing because of the residue and ugly stuff that I have on it already. And so I only taped up my templates. So the reason why you want to tape your templates is because if it's just taped on the corners, the jigsaw right here is going to rip that paper and you're going to lose where you need to cut. So just take the piece of paper, tape it all down, and do that. So now what you're going to need is you're going to need a pilot hole for the other pilot hole, or I guess it's a starter hole, but you need to drill a small hole and then go into a bigger hole. And this bigger hole needs to be the same size, or a little bit, not the same size, but a little bit bigger than that blade, like that, just so the blade can fit in there and you can start cutting out your hole. So I'm going to put this on here. Oh, go a little bit deeper. And you don't want to put it right on that black line. You want to put it just a little bit beside it. See, it's on the inside because I don't want to mess up the outside. It's going to be on the inside. So now what we're going to do is go and take that bigger drill bit. And you might have to work up in smaller increments, but since this is thin metal, I don't know if I will have to. We're going to find out. There we go. And now we should be able to fit our jigsaw in there, have plenty of wiggle room. And then we can start, go ahead and drilling out all the circles. But the reason why, if you're not painting, you want to cover the whole thing is the bottom, at least of my jigsaw, will scratch the hell out of the paint. So if you're not painting it, please remember to cover all the paint anywhere and everywhere. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and start doing that to all 4 of them, and then line up the speakers, and then we'll mess with the radio next. Now we got the hose drilled out. We're gonna make sure it's a test fit. Go ahead and pop 2 speakers in, and I drill them out just a little bit bigger, just to make sure I get a little bit enough sliding room to get them to fit where I want to fit. So now I was planning on for the radio to go here. So all you do is take the radio, put it upside down, and make sure that you can still line it up along that edge like that. And I see I got plenty of room to do that. So the reason why there's a gap here is I'm gonna put one of the gain knobs there, or maybe even the aux import. Put something there. I'm probably have room for that switch panel. I mean, I do have room for a switch panel. It's just it's gonna be so close and so cluttered. I don't know if it's worth taking a risk on doing that. I'd rather take it and put it on that back side. Well, I might have a little bit of an interference. I don't know. I'm gonna figure that out in a second. I'm gonna put the radio in first, and then I'll figure out where I'm gonna put that switch panel for sure. So let's go ahead and do the same thing I did for the speakers. Drill a little hole, get the jigsaw in, and drill the hole, drill the circle out. And I'll come back and figure out where I'm going to put that at. So I got the speakers in, got the radio in, just mocking everything up. And I feel like everything's going to fit smoothly now. And I think I'm just going to take the chance and put the switch panel in right there. And we threw the battery in a second ago. That battery is not going to fit. So I'm going to have to get some smaller batteries and put a bunch of small batteries in there and see what happens. So yeah, now I'm going to cut out this switch panel and then see where we can go from there. I guess I kind of want to mention this since this is in a circle. You're going to need to drill 2 holes whenever you jigsaw out something that's going to be square. So you put them in opposite corners and then go up sideways and then sideways and down, and then you'll be good to go and it's going to come out. Cut it out. Just going to make sure it fits. Yep, she fits. I think that actually looks a lot better on the side because then the lid's going to come down and I can just, on the side. But I know you're thinking it's probably an empty space on this side. This is where I'm gonna put the 2 gain knobs right here. Put 2 of them. Top one's gonna be the front, bottom one's gonna be the rear, and I'll put the aux port right here. Then on the back, well, I don't know what the battery situation is. Go ahead and drill out everything else and mount the antenna last, and then figure out what the battery problem is gonna be. Sorry, I didn't want to get metal on my jigsaw. Will throw some metal. So I'm going to peel back this tape. Go ahead and screw in those gain knobs right here and the aux port. And I'll show you how to do that in a second. Alright, so I put the speakers back in. I put some masking tape because I just have the skinny little bit left. I don't want to wrap the whole thing in that. But I use it for this. And the diameter of these little gain knobs, since I got 2 of them, front channel and rear channel, it's about the diameter of a quarter. And I got it where I like it. So I think since the speaker's straight, I'm gonna go off of these 2 lines and then come directly over. So that's kind of where I like them. So all I'm gonna do now is take a Sharpie and just kind of rough sketch. You know, kind of rough, kind of like, well, make sure it's a little straight, and then kind of just go for it. Now the only problem with this is you're going to need a hefty drill bit. The drill bit that you'll need just to fit this dang thing is a 15/16 drill bit. Let's go right there. I'm gonna use a hand drill for this one. I still will drill like a little pilot hole. So you wanna get done? Got everything back in place. Actually, the switches did fit. All we had to do was bend up the last switch. We just had to bend that one up to go along with the magnet, and everything fits snugly. Now, these are mounted. Now the only thing we have left to do is mount the aux port right here, and we'll be good to go. And then we can start wiring up, and the next video will be all about wiring, but I'm gonna go ahead and show you what it looks like once the aux port's installed. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so take the little nut off of the back of it, pull it all the way out. I got more masking tape. Kind of line it up where you want it. And just go ahead and hold it down and trace the inner diameter, and just find something that's just a tad bit bigger than that, just a hair, because you don't want it too big where the nut's not going to go in the end of it. You just want it either that size where you can kind of shove it in there or whatnot. So I'm going to go ahead and do another pilot hole, find a drill bit to fit, and then drill it. Drill the hole. Now she's mounted, slides right in. You just take, you know, the little nut that goes in the back, slide it through, and go ahead and thread it. That's the only bad thing about these plastic ones. They kind of hard to get started. Once you get them started, they're all right. One thing I'm still unsure about is the little loop. I might turn it sideways, just because I don't want it to bump into the radio or the speaker right below it. So that's what I'm about to find out now. I'm going to put this in there, just kind of shove it. Go ahead and throw this speaker in. And throw this in. Yeah, and I think this being sideways ain't such a bad idea. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is the only thing that's white on this ammo box. Well, this ammo box is going to be painted. We'll see how it turns out. That should blend in. So it's time to mount the antenna now. So what you want to do is you want to unscrew a little screw that's only on one side. And be careful when you do it, or it's going to start coming apart. Keep those screwed together. Then you have another screw. Unscrew that, and the back plate will come off. All right. Keep those together now. So now what's gonna happen is go ahead and drill a hole, and it really only needs to be as thick as these two, the outer diameter of these two. Just to save space actually on this side, I'm gonna put it right here, and the antenna will actually go up at an angle, kind of like this, like on my last ammo box. Kind of like a signature move that I've been doing for a little bit. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just chunk it right there and call it a day. And basically it's the same thing, guys. Just kind of trace those top 2 pins, put it where you want it, trace that top pin, and you gotta be pretty, trace that bottom pin. See, that bottom pin was somewhere around there. Make sure that it lines up, and yes it does. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and drill a pilot hole, drill a big hole, get it drilled out, and I'll be good to go. I noticed there's 2 things on these things. There's a side like this, and there's a side like this. You want it on this side where this is nice and flat versus the other side how it came from the factory. So go ahead and flip those around and bring it around. On the back side, it's going to be tricky. I already kind of have the speakers in it because I'm still trying to figure out what exactly to do with the battery. Perfect. Now you take this. You start to screw that in. Came with a screwdriver? Appreciate it. Start to screw that in just to get it kind of locked in place. And I think that is the perfect angle. So now I'm going to cinch it down. One thing I want to tell y'all guys, just so y'all know, that I'm just test fitting everything before I dynomat the inside, or sound deaden the inside. So y'all just keep that in mind. Don't freak out. Actually, it could bend up a little bit more. All right, sweet. So now let's talk about the battery. So it was a no-go on the big battery. So I got these 3 small batteries that I'm gonna try. I got 2 deer feeder batteries and one. So I ain't got a cameraman with me right now. And one little smaller battery. And I'm gonna see if I can get it to fit. I have everything installed just to make sure that it would fit. I gotta take these 2 back speakers out just to get access to the more room that I have. So I'm gonna take those 2 speakers out real quick and see what happens. All right, so what I'm kind of hoping is that I can stick, the small one in this back corner right here up against the antenna, and I can fit these 2 side by side underneath that area right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it in real quick and see what happens. All right, so I did get them in. I have some good news and some bad news. Good news is I got a little bit of play. The bad news is this one is in pretty tight, and when I get that sound deadening foam in, I don't know how much tighter it's going to be, but I can possibly stretch out just a little bit more. The other bad news is that speaker right there, I had to take the bolt out, and yes, there's a little bit of room down there. You see, I had to take it out right there, and like I said, just for security reasons, I'm going to put nuts and bolts on this thing just to make sure that these ain't going nowhere. I'm gonna have to do a nut and a bolt right here on these 2 where this battery is in, but you can see I got plenty of room to do that. The hardest part is gonna be getting to the back of the speaker, but as long as I'll probably do this one first, since when that speaker's in, I can take this speaker out and then reach my hand in on this side to put in this speaker. So this is gonna have to be the first speaker to go in. All right, so one problem that I found out actually when installing these speakers is that with every speaker is the labels at the top and the prongs are at the bottom. I don't even think about that because the problem is when you go to install it, the prongs hit the bottom of that battery. But since this is the back side and no one's really ever going to see it, I'm thinking about installing this whole back side upside down just so it's even. And you probably can't even tell. Looking down at it, you just see a little white thing down there, and it's a symbol. At least it's not Sony written across and Sony's upside down. So that's the only other thing that I just noticed. But like I said, it's on the back side. If I put it upside down, I doubt anyone's going to notice it. So yeah, like I said, that's 2 8 amp hour. That's 2 8 amp hour batteries. So that's 16 amp hours. And that smaller one's 4.5. They had a more expensive one for 5, but I was not paying $15 more for a half amp hour. I think 20 amp hours is going to be plenty for this little box, so that's kind of what I'm sticking with. So I'm going to go ahead and strip everything out, and in the next video, once this thing is painted, I'm going to put everything back together and show y'all guys how I silicone it and how I wire everything up and TD all the wires and get them nice and neat and make sure everything works. So stick around, please subscribe for the next video, and we'll go ahead and finish this baby up. Later.